All right, folks, welcome. What's Your Story 2024 is underway. This is episode 2. We are definitely just really going to crank out just another great conversation in the house. These guys, the Dempseys. That's right. It is incredibly, I feel so honored to be able to hang out with the Dangerous Dempseys and talk about their music, talk about what got us here, which I think is also kind of cool. And hopefully you guys get a lot out of that. Make sure you guys check out the description, all the links. I mean, there's going to be a whole bunch of links for both of you guys. I've already been messaging them, making sure we got all the links worked out because that's how I am. I'm like an OCD on all that stuff. That kind of stuff breaks all the time. But gentlemen, thank you so much for doing this, my friend.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you for having us, indeed.
Yeah. I've been looking forward to this, man. Yeah.
It's kind of took a little too long to get to you, man. Sometimes it's hard with schedules. It's hard with managing the real life stuff too. And I want to unpack a little bit about like how we ended up here because, Dempsey, you talk a lot. You've talked, doing another interview. You guys have done other interviews, things like that. You've talked about your love of music and your background and that kind of thing. What was one of the triggers that you guys decided to sort of like collaborate in this way? You know what I mean? Kind of like leveling up in that way.
Right. Okay.
Well, it all started one night. I was just making music after a long day of school, because this was during the pandemic when everything was just shut down. So I couldn't go to actual school. So I was doing it from my computer.
Right.
And I have this one online DAW, which is a digital audio workstation, which I'm sure you're familiar with, but
not at all. But I made you think I was. But we're doing good.
Hey, right on. So apparently, turns out I can collaborate on this said DAW that is on the browser. And I asked my dad until he said yes, and then he got sucked into it. So
yeah,
down the rabbit hole we go. Okay.
Yeah, and it was basically all just an elaborate ploy to hang out with the guy so that I could, speak with him, see what he's thinking, see how he's feeling. And a lot of times the music that you create will betray your thoughts, even if you don't want people to know you're struggling or you don't want you're sad or angry. It'll come across in the music you create if you listen well enough. So,
yeah.
I figure this is a great way to bond with my son. A lot of dads don't get the chance to do that, so I feel very lucky. I really do.
I really couldn't agree more. I know that I've been able to rekindle some nerd bonding with my oldest son because of his newfound love of Legos and Star Wars. So there's like that 20-year rules. Like we start getting into things like after 20 years later, we have a little bit of disposable income and that kind of thing. So the fact that you've been able to get ahead of that is really, really, really cool. Okay, so how is the process then? So obviously you figured out a way of collabing. It becomes like one thing becomes another thing, hang out a little more. So then how did a process develop to say, listen, I think we could make like an album together. I think we could make something like serious. Because I mean, I know maybe you guys didn't take this to the level of how I listen to it. I know you've been on some other channels. I feel the same way. Like this is really, really good stuff. This isn't like you guys just in a garage just threw up a hobby project. This is a really, really well produced and put together piece of work.
Well, it all summarizes down to he taught me some music theory. And originally, I was the one I was the one helping him, do all this shit. And he actually came up to me with some more music theory stuff. And then, our styles just kind of complemented each other. And it went past the point of it being in the garage. You know what I mean? We were making studio quality stuff since for a while now.
Yeah. And it just keeps getting better as we get better at interacting with the DAW and interacting with each other and throwing in new elements from different genres. Because I don't know if you've noticed or not, but we don't stick to a single genre like most musicians tend to do. Like you have thrash metal people will continue to play thrash or thrash adjacent music for pretty much their whole careers. We're kind of all over the place. And I like that. It takes me out of my comfort zone as an old school metal guy. And he was, he had his own musical tastes, which, go ahead and tell him.
Right. I got, oh man, it's a long range of genres spanning from drum and bass to the next Tupac song. I'm not even kidding. Like I grew up with Justin Bieber. I grew up with Metallica. I grew up with Pantera. I grew up with Sepultura. I grew up with all these people that you wouldn't think would go together, but I listened to it all growing up. And what was crazy is that you can ask him and anyone else who knows me as long as he has. I used to just be able to pick out any words in a song and just sing them.
Yeah, true. Yeah,
it's funny.
So all of these different experiences come together for us to be able to create one object. It's usually starts out as, say, A, and it turns into B over time and turns into C after that. And then we go back and we'll visit again after a couple months. And we just keep sculpting little bits here and there.
Until it's Z. Until it's at Z.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you know what, Zombie? It's what you're describing actually is what most of us are like. We actually like your dad. I love Motown and I love AC/DC. Like it's somehow our brains are able to just connect to things in a way that just like it like I think we were saying before we started, like it's very visceral. It just touches in our soul and our spirit. And I got to be honest, even as I mean, literally, as a person of faith who's gone to even Christian concerts here in the last few years, they will just stop doing their normal genre for a minute, and then they'll have an acoustic set, or they will just randomly. So it's they're kind of hypocritical because I think the labels tend to control the direction of a structure of an album. Because when you see people perform live, they do exactly what you guys are doing. It's like, okay, everybody, well, the guitarist and the drummer get some hydration before they pass out and die on stage. We're going to sit here and just do a lo-fi sequence where I'm going to talk to you folks. I mean, that is really how they actually operate. You guys are just doing it right out in the front, on the edge of your sleeve.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah. There's a lot of influences come in. Like you mentioned Motown. I grew up listening to that kind of stuff. Was my father listened to that? He listened to that. And classical and big band. I went to a Catholic school and we had music classes. So I just kind of continued learning from all that and listening to the music my dad would play for me. And, I played a lot of that same stuff for him as well.
Yeah.
So, your Chuck Berrys and things of this nature, Stevie Wonder, Ray Charles, people like that.
And hell,
huge influences on me.
Hell, I even went past that and started listening to jazz and all these other genres within the jazz community.
Right. Yeah. And plus, we had, I had a lot of friends that were into music when I was growing up. So there were garage bands that I was part of. I was helping them write songs. I was helping them arrange their songs. I was helping them write lyrics or, name. The naming convention was really, that was a lot of fun. We did that growing up a lot, but that was, my good buddy Jim Schreblum. I don't really know how to say his name properly. It's SJR. I don't know. We call him Shablum. He's an amazing guitar player. He reminds me a lot of Joe Satriani. So there were crazy high-end talented people that I hung out with my whole life, and I think some of it just kind of rubbed off on me a little bit.
Yeah. That's good. That's a very good point. Very, very good points indeed. Wow. Yeah, because I think that part of the evolution, as we listen to different songs that you've already released and hearing you guys talk about them on different interviews and things like that, it is like what we talked about, that evolution from step A to B to C to go back to A again, and now it becomes C prime, then it becomes a D. Then it's like it takes you a month later, now and it hits fast forward for a while and hits a wall again and stuff like that.
Right.
But I think what does that is kind of like what you're saying, Zombie. You were dabbling with different genres and artists and things like that, and every now and again it just seems like that light comes on going, you know what, a little jazz, these little influences is what kind of will move this piece over here forward, and then this piece over here forward, and then all this over here, this will make is that pretty much I'm trying to pull out a little bit of what I think you guys are saying, right? That's kind of how this workstation works, and why
that's why I pioneer my own genres, because what's the point? Everyone's done it at this point. When it comes to music, or when it comes to music making, everyone's done anything at this point. All your combinations are out there now.
Yeah.
you can't do something anymore that someone hasn't already tried at least once. And that's the screwed part, that's the screwy part of music that I find.
Yeah.
That's why I just kind of mix them all together, see what I like. And
That's
if
right.
I don't like it, just hit the undo button.
That's right. Yeah, that's one of our mantras when we're making music is to try it. You never know. At worst case scenario, you don't like it and you take it out. Best case scenario, you find something that you would never have thought about before in any other circumstance.
Right.
And a lot of times when you find these elements, it really just comes out of the influences that you've had in your past musically. So, a cowbell or what are those fish things you go down the spine of them?
Oh my God.
What are they called? I always forget them. Anyway.
I always think of the wax board, but you went to the fish
Arrows
thing.
or
I can't remember what the wax. I don't know what the fish one is called, but yeah.
These things that we picked up over time. Spanish guitar is really complicated and has polyrhythmic properties to it, and we try to establish things like that in our songs as well. We never want it to sit in the pocket for too long and become repetitive.
Too repetitive is bad.
Right, because songs are based off of patterns, but they're not necessarily meant to run your head into the ground. That's how songs become like the Rickroll song or the earworm song, where people remember 2 seconds of your song and forget the whole rest of it. Our songs are more meant to take you on a journey from a point A to a point Z somewhere.
Right. How do you know when you've reached an end point? How do you kind of feel like you hit Z?
We
honestly don't know. We just put that shit out there.
Right. Let's say there's a lot of times where you can feel a song tipping from bad towards good. You can feel it where you come to a point where, okay, so we've got most of the elements of the song that we're going to want where they're supposed to be, the structure down, the different effects that we're going to use. Then we go through and try to mix everything so it hits at the correct level, because there's only so much frequency that you have to deal with in a song. So you have to make all these different sounds fit together.
It's all a giant math equation.
Right.
Okay. Right. Yeah.
I
say that more as a writer for me, right? So it's like as a writer, I feel the same way. Like I can keep going, over analyzing it. You know what I mean? I have this project that I done, and I really haven't done anything. To me, it's just done. It's on the shelf, but I've kind of been encouraged to go back and pull it off the shelf and revisit it. And I'm like, that's that dangerous slippery slope as a creative. Like once you do that, man, you don't know what kind of rabbit hole you can end up down. So I get it. So
So a lot of times the drums start out with just, the song will start out with just the drum beat.
Sure.
I'm a drummer. That's how I approach most music, is from a rhythm standpoint. So bass and drums are really the foundational, the keystone for a lot of these songs, and we usually move forward from there and add other effects on. But this guy here is way better at writing things like that than I am.
I'm better with bass.
Yeah, way better with bass.
Do you write all the time now? Do you have like a little notebook? Do you do digitally? How do you sort of like make sure you're tapping in and that those random thoughts are getting captured?
So I have this neat little app on my phone because I have an iPhone, which I don't like Apple. I have this neat little app. It's called the Notepad, and I just kind of write my thoughts on there.
Okay.
I write down half my songs are in that app. They're just being stored away.
Do you extract them out and consolidate them somewhere else, or how does it kind of move to the workstation?
So what I do is I go through this site called BandLab, and I paste I paste the lyrics from my notepad to BandLab. Can't believe that rhymed. So I paste that over, and then I hit the record button and
plus we do most of our work on laptop or desktop. So when he has that app on his phone, we can have the desktop or laptop next to the phone and just pull it over straight.
Yeah. Cool.
Right. And it's super easy for us to keep track and all of that with how we're writing and what exactly we're writing and, you know, stuff like that.
Right.
No, I'm just curious. 'Cause I think that's what's important for folks at home to make sure that you're, hopefully people can find best practices and things like that. Because I'm still so old school. I mean, I before we started, I'm like, I got notes and everywhere like that. And these things are these random thoughts in the car, right? The random thought in the car. Oh, I'm working on this and this got rid over here. Don't forget to do this. And then it all kind of just keeps shrinking back to the one big notebook, right? And I'm like, I got to get a new notebook for 2024 because I got to, you know, that kind of thing. But I think people need to know, like, I don't think, Dempsey, you can speak to this, right? We're a little older. We've got a couple more miles on us than poor zombie here, but most people are their own worst enemies, and we'll talk ourselves out of doing certain things, or it's, you know, whatever. And usually, if we can pull the curtain back and realize that the struggles that you were having or whatever is the same struggles that they're having. They just got to know maybe a little tip that you can give them to help them press through like that. Maybe zombie's like, oh, that notepad process that you take for granted now, someone else is like, you mean really is that simple? I can just get BandLab and I can just do that? Oh, why didn't I know that? Like, there's maybe that is the case. I don't know. Maybe it is. Hopefully it is. So that's why I love trying to pull at that thread a little bit. So
yeah, I'm not even gonna lie to you here. I've written at least 15 to 20 songs that started out with me in the shower, just kind of standing there like beating on my chest, and you bring that out, and if you can record yourself on your phone, then you can hold on to that. You bring it over, because when you open up the app, it's like something happens in your mind and everything just kind of clears out. You just start over again. So if you have these little things around, like you're saying with your notepad, or he's saying with his notepad, or me with my phone recordings, you can actually bring the thoughts along with you, and then work them into something, or they'll change into something else along the way.
Right.
Because I don't think we've ever written a song that started out anywhere close to how it ended.
Right.
Right.
Yeah,
just because something starts a certain way doesn't mean it has to be that way at the end. And a lot of people get caught up in genres and things of this nature. Just let it out.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean,
and you know, as an artist, you're probably your own worst enemy too, right? Because you'll just, like you mentioned, deleting things. I've learned as I got a little older, maybe not deleting them right away, like keeping like I have like an archive file now. It's sort of like the videos I never got to, or maybe some notes I didn't get to, or something like that. Or if I spent like a long time, like sometimes if I'm doing a movie project, it'll be like pages of notes, like for some reason, I don't know, whatever. And I'm like, I used to delete all that. And now I'm like, I get asked to go on a show and talk about that movie where I had 12 pages written down would be pretty useful right about now. Or, you know, so I've learned that maybe there's like a more of a slower process for things to get deleted completely. You know, you might have a YouTuber, hint, hint, folks out there, you might be able to have some YouTuber calls you up and goes, Zombie, I need this thing, but I'm really into a jazz, so I need a jazzy kind of thing. And you're like, I just had one. So so
yeah, I did that before we did that interview on album drop night over on Zax's channel. I had spent the whole day and the day before writing out notes and going over everything and trying to bring out points. I even designated certain things, like I'm going to say this part, Zombie's going to say this other part. Like, we had the whole thing scripted and went on, so that way we could just kind of let loose and have more fun with it and still be able to keep our spot.
Right.
So, yeah.
Did that make you feel more comfortable? Was that your first interview, if that makes sense? Together?
That was not the first time that I had been interviewed. What was about you?
Not my first time, but it was my first time being interviewed by a bigger channel.
Yeah, Zach's pretty good channel.
Yeah.
But my first interview was with Wakasashi's Tea House. Great.
That wasn't an interview. That was y'all just hanging out talking about booze and Highlander.
Hey, you know, that's good stuff, man. I love Gray. He's a good dude.
No, listen, Gray is a friend. I love Gray, and that was a good show. Zach, it was a good show. You've been fortunate to make your presence and knowledge known among us. Like we all are very kindred spirits. You know what I mean? And I know that. You know, it's like one of those things where it's like, This sounds like it's the friendships and stuff that we feel like we have now sound weird because 15 years ago that was like AOL chat roomy. Like it it sounds really
Right.
strange to people that are normies, but we end up
Right.
spending hours together, right? So I mean,
Right.
yes, this may be the first time I've had you like on my channel live talking like this, but you've been in my chats. We've been on chats
Right.
together. We have these shared experiences, like you said, Zax's streams and Wakazashi's stream, all these different shared experiences.
Right.
And I think this is the part with what you guys are doing with your music, what we as content creators are trying to do on YouTube. It's the world has radically changed, and I just don't think everybody else. I mean, I think I think people do catch on, but I don't think they even realize how mad. I just heard someone talking about the social media usage, which again, it was a study about how it rots our brains. But reality is, YouTube was so massive over the next one. I really thought it would be TikTok or something, as big as TikTok is, but it was because of the quantity of time of consumption, right? It's the fact that people are on YouTube for maybe, the Joe Rogan thing, like a 3-hour conversation. Whereas on TikTok, they're watching, 15, 20 seconds here and there.
Right.
Just
Agreed.
like, holy cow, the amount. And then you think about the fact that so many people are still just only on Facebook or they're just only on certain things. And I'm like, yeah, the whole world is doing something completely different. And then whenever you guys were on Zax's channel and you were unpacking like song by song, and I've been listening to them now. I've been down the rabbit hole. And by the way, sometimes I forget to turn off. Well, maybe Zombie doesn't know. I listen to a lot of my fellow YouTubers in 1.5 to 2 speed because they generate so much content. It's the only way I can keep up, right? So I've listened to Zax's that conversation with you guys, but I've forgotten to turn it off fast enough, or I was in the car. I have to be honest, man. No is quite the banger in 1.5 to 2 speed. I'm just saying, you might want to try that one out. Just to kind of have a laugh at what happened to Pops' brain. I was like, that portion right there was kind of a banger. I like that. But so yeah, there's some good stuff.
Yeah, I'll have to check that out.
You said no at 2 times speed.
Yeah.
It was a 1.5 to 2 speed. I was listening to I listened to the interview that way, right? Then I would undo it to listen to the song part when you guys were talking. But every now and again, I was distracted and it just kept playing. And I was like, whoa. I'm still on 1.5 to 2 speed. And I was just like kind of like getting into the groove of the song. And I'm like, wait a minute. I'm not even the right speed. Hold on a minute.
Right.
My favorite one. I mean, it wouldn't surprise a nerd like me. Would be my favorite one is. Do you say it bunch bob or do you do bong spot? Do you do bunch?
Bob. Yeah, the bunch bob.
Bunch bob, yeah. Bunch bob is probably my favorite one. I mean, it's just, but it's right up my alley. Like it just totally fits the kind of thing that I'd be into and what I would enjoy. So yeah, that's good. And the lo-fi stuff, obviously, lo-fi stuff's just a lot of fun. So yeah.
We'll say, folks, that bunch bob is actually my wife's second favorite song of ours. So. That doesn't surprise
I'm in
me
good company.
That's good.
I'm in good company, is what you're saying.
That's
right. When it comes to song titles, him and I like to goof off a lot.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, listen, a lot of what you'll do in life is making sure that you are happy doing it. I mean, a lot of things in hindsight, you're like, you know what? I really wish I had just made myself happier doing that. Like, there's little things we can do, and if it takes like a little silly song or a little tweak here and there that puts a smile on your face or an inside joke. Like, I don't understand why Dempsey. Why is there not bunch bob par squants shirts already? Like I need a shirt that just has all that on there, and people to be looking at you I'm
about to make a shirt. I just need to know how many people would buy it.
But you don't even have to. You could just do it. Like I personally have no problem telling people I've been using Redbubble. I tried it out during Christmas. I did my first real like fancier design, and ordered a shirt. They gave me a shirt that I bought a couple extras, and I was pretty impressed with the quality so far. So just kind of that way, and you don't have to worry about like shipping them yourself and all that. And it gets expensive. You start ordering shirts because there's not a lot of margin on shirts. But yeah, something like that's kind of an inside joke. You get a shirt for you and your dad. Maybe mama wears it to the grocery store. What's that all about? You got a business card because you got to get a cheap business card, man. You got to get a Vistaprint business card with the Dangerous Dempseys on it. So mama has something at the grocery store.
That's right.
No, for real.
Hey.
Yeah. See, this is the part of all of this that kind of is fun. And because at the end of the day, if you don't run up a big bill on a zombie, you've at least laughed about it. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
right.
Like, you know,
Right.
5 years from now, whenever the faded SpongeBob shirt's fading and looks kind of ratty now because you've worn it to death, you're like, oh, I'm kind of sad. I need another one or something. You know, it's like it just
Right.
because I regret not having that. You know, some of the stuff that I had done years ago and that kind of thing. So,
Right.
I've actually been looking into. I want a hat that says "Drunken Poet" on it.
there you go.
Like, so I don't know if you can see my hat now.
Bah humbug. You are not a bah humbug kind of guy, are you?
I am not, but I do like the black hat. So
Fair enough. Okay, making sure.
I
I was a little
I
concerned for a
wanna
minute. Like,
get a
wait a
bucket
minute,
hat.
that says bah humbug, doesn't it? I thought there might be a catch. That's why I was a little hesitant.
right. No,
What-
no,
what-
I do want a hat that says "Drunken Poet" on it, though. I've always thought that would be a good idea. I don't know.
I'm
I've
so
been
far
called
pretty
that ever
happy
since.
with Redbubble. It does take a little nuance to get used to how to adjust some of the details, but it was pretty good. I'm having a hard time finding like text only and the right density to make sure it will be good for print. So that's my next phase of merch phase, if anything.
Nice.
So
I want a purple hoodie that says Plague Gang on it because of the Plague Doctor mask.
oh yes, there you go. Yeah. Listen, and gotta be honest, this is one of those things where I've realized that there are sites like that one where people have already been doing these things. So it's kind of cool to know that we're not the only ones and people have been doing it. So I want to rewind the clock a little bit to one of the early projects in the Dangerous Dempsey library, if you will. The Metroid Nerdporial project. Now, how on earth did that come to light? How did that, like, who reached out to whom? How did that come to? Because that is a massive thing that's out there. It is incredible, folks. It is absolutely
This
incredible.
was one of our thank you. This was one of our biggest projects, and let me tell you, man, when it came, I think it was us who reached out to him.
Kind of.
Was
Almost. Okay. I made that song one night, just kind of hanging out.
Oh yeah. We made
And
Justin Bailey.
And he came in and heard what I was doing and was like, whoa, hold on a second, move over. And I moved out of the way. He started working on this. And then one day I was kind of hanging out in Nerdporial's Discord channel, and he had said that he was going to do a Metroid retrospective. And I had mentioned to him on his Discord, hey, you know, we just made a song. Check it out.
Yeah.
And I put it up there. And back to us about a week later, he was like, whoa, do that again. Do more. Can you do these other ones as well?
Right.
And it took us months. It took us months to make these songs. We ended up making, what was it, 4? I think
including
it was 4
the jingles.
songs. Right. If you include the jingles, we made 5. So and Brian, Nerdporial used all of those in his video at certain points. I really enjoyed the project. I don't know. It was a ton of fun working with Brian or working with Nerdporial because he's a very good person.
Yeah.
He's very smart. He's very polite.
Yep.
He's just a great dude. So that was a lot of fun for me.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun for me too because it was the first time that I actually had hope that because I don't know if you heard me on Zach's channel, I'm trying to essentially start a new wave of content creation. And I'm trying to help boost that.
Yeah, bringing
I
the new
agree.
age
I heard
indie musicians.
Indie content creation on YouTube. It's so far it's been doing well because we managed to get a hold of every one of y'all.
Yeah, right.
Well, and the biggest thing I think that you were open-minded to, and I don't think it was just Zach's channel. I think it was also when you were talking with Ryan, but you've talked to Ryan 3 or 4 times. So I'm not sure I know exactly which conversation it was, but you at least, because a lot of people are not getting this, is the partnership of you guys are doing music, and one of our biggest Achilles heels is the constant struggle with trying to find music we can use that fits the theme of what we're working on. Like, for instance, Talk Hard is my live show on Tuesday nights. I mentioned AC/DC earlier. It should be no surprise to Loki or Ironcaster. We've talked about regularly how in my brain the Talk Hard that is Thunderstruck, right? Instead of saying Thunderstruck, imagine them saying Talk Hard with that constant buildup and that emotional buildup of that song is what was always been in my head. And my good Lord knows I've got like a bastardized remix version of it that we use sometimes, but navigating the waters of the automated copyright claim. Forget about people pushing a button. Just the idea that this freaking thing will just flag stuff. It's a nightmare. But to know, Zombie, that you're open-minded enough to go, listen, I like what you're doing. Let's cut this for you, whatever. I gave you like a little 20-second tease or whatever, whatever. But if you guys want me to do this or whatever, and this is what I would charge or whatever, that finding that ground to me is the future. You know what I mean? Trying to find that, because it doesn't need to be. Right now, it always feels and sounds like it's like thousands of dollars. It sounds like these expensive things. I think there's a place where folks can be like, listen, I don't need that much. I can just do this on scale. You know what I mean? I can do this on scale and build my resume, build my library, use it as references, things like that. I think that you were one of the first people that I've heard sort of like totally get that. You're way ahead of the curve of this is a path that we need to keep going on.
Right. Yeah, and that's actually it's really important that people understand that the music copyright situation is very, very difficult.
It is super difficult. Oh my Lord.
Yeah, and even getting strikes and getting claims and things like this out there can really put a musician's career on halt. It's the equivalent of having your channel demonetized for me, because anybody who plays my music, if it's been on one of my albums, that money comes back through me because of my distribution people make sure to go out and find who did it and claim it and bring it back to me. But when I want people to play it and not have that copyright strike, that's just not a thing. It's just not there. So there's a collaboration level out there that's unachievable with copywritten music. So we try to give people the music before it gets to that point. Make music specifically for people, specifically out of our normal. Be like, here, we're going to create this new project for you so that you can use it as an intro, cut it up, put it in the background of your music or your videos or whatever. And it's hard to do because a lot of people won't feel comfortable reaching out, or they won't feel comfortable. They think you're going to charge them. Like you said, they're going to charge them, $100, $200, $400 or something per song. It's not like that.
Especially because we don't need, and again, I know YouTubers, y'all can speak for yourselves. So hit the comments and you correct me where I'm wrong. Personally, most of my musical snippets are just a few seconds. I know better than to try to play the 4-minute intros and massive segments of anything, whether it be video or audio. It's just easier. It's like I need. Talk Hard is probably my longest musical segment that I do, where it's almost like I shoot for about 1.5 to 2 minutes or so. So that would be the longest one. But most of these little clips, little 7 minutes, 15 seconds, 20 seconds. How freaking long do you guys need? No one's watching that crap. Everybody's trying to get on with the show. So I think you guys are so ahead of the curve on that. I think it's great. So make sure you folks, make sure you're reaching out. Make sure first off, everything is in the description. So hit that again. So go back, right click it. The SoundCloud, all the stuff's there. Right click it in Windows so you don't forget. Then you can go in there. You can find your different tracks. There's genre. Every genre you can think of, whether it be trap or lo-fi, they're all there. So you guys can pick and choose what you want. Don't listen to me because I'm weird. I'm all over. I'm a little bit zombie. I will admit I'm way. Okay, Mrs. Pops had a laugh at my expense, and Steve, you'll be. Dempsey, you will definitely get this. And it was the end of the year. YouTube likes to tell you what your year was like. And one of them was the most popular songs that you've listened to. My list looks like I'm a neurotic, like I have serious issues. Like it was everything from like Fleetwood Mac and Journey to like this one Christian song over here. But then it was like this one Christmas song that I had to have been watching last year because we really weren't far into it. And I'm like, it looks like a complete neuroses of extremes and all like the two cellos doing Thunderstruck. Because I think for like 2 or 3 weeks I was listening to this 2 cello version of Thunderstruck and things like this. It's like these random things. That really, I got to be honest. Maybe it's just us, Zombie. Maybe I'm cut from the same cloth as you, brother, with what you said earlier, and you're like your dad. So I guess we're all kind of where we like all these different things, and most people are not. I don't know. What are your friends like? Do your friends like that or no?
I got a buddy. My buddy JT. He's a Deadhead, like straight up Deadhead.
Okay.
He's into Grateful Dead. He's into Sepultura and all of that. I got another buddy who's completely emo. Like, and I mean that in like actually emo.
Cool.
He listens to like hyper pop and some other like typical white girl stuff.
Don't want to put a name on there, though, do you?
I'm glad I got you to laugh.
I mean, I say those things all the time, but you know, to come in from you, I feel better knowing that you were just calling your friend out because he listens to white girl stuff. I do it to my friends all the time, so you know, I'm glad I'm not alone. I mean,
it's
I mean,
I've known him for a while.
That's good.
For a while. Yeah.
That's good. That's good. I'm very proud of you to keep that up. Make sure that he's humbled and knows that he's, you know, you listen. His music taste is like a 12-year-old white girl. It's okay. We understand. We will love him. We will love him and embrace him until he grows up and discovers that there was, you know, jazz and Motown, and he can graduate through time and eventually get to Hendrix and some stuff that actually matters. And you know, yeah, I got you.
Shout out to Toke and JT, by the way.
Yeah. Yeah, his friend JT that he was just telling you about, the Deadhead, he actually did the lyrics for our song "Heads Up," that video that's on our stuff.
Yeah.
So.
That song's done really well for you, so that's really cool. That's a really good piece of work.
There's another song. Shoot, that's on my phone. There's another song I did with him. It's more of a personal, like inner thoughts kind of song. It's pretty sad and whatnot, but it did amazing actually, and I'm pretty sure they want. And when I say they, I mean people in general. They want to hear me and JT.
Yeah.
I think that stuff, though, is you from the heart, and now there's not like a buffer and a label telling you no. So I think that's one of the things that's different is, and I also think that labels looked at music as like a whole track. They looked at what's the radio propositions and is this good for 4 minutes? I have ADD pretty bad, so I got to be honest. You may have a song, and I love like 2 minutes of your song, but maybe not this other minute and a half. But that 2 minutes,
I feel that.
I may love that 2 minutes and play it over and over and over. So I think that is unheard of with how music has been done for my lifetime. So I think, and this has come out in movies. I'm not telling anybody anything they don't already know, but I think that what you guys are doing with, and you really haven't cracked the surface. You've just now cracked the surface with SoundCloud and some of these other. There are, I assume, probably 6 more services that are like that where you can get your stuff out there.
Right. True. Yeah. And we probably won't be going through SoundCloud anymore. We've had some issues with them over the last couple months, and I'm not very happy with them. Yeah.
Both of us have. And it's not just for our album release. I've had some personal issues with SoundCloud myself. And I'm about to just say I'm half tempted to start selling my beats on Patreon.
Well, you know what? You should be doing that anyway if you're allowed to, because there's no reason to not. I mean, I kept my eBay store, but I'm more than happy. I would reach out to my members pretty regularly, like, oh, I'm going to get rid of this kind of stuff. Any of you guys really hit me up, you know, whatever. We could just use Cash App or something. I don't want to we'll cut out the middleman. We don't need to go through these people. It's just trying to find the way to communicate it is the problem. Shoot, like there's website structures to yeah, you don't need to have the extra 12% and all this other nonsense. People reaching in your pocket, man, taking a cut for doing nothing, man. So, yeah, just, you know what? There'll be another SoundCloud out there. So maybe people in the chat can give you suggestions of the ones they like. I don't know. We'll see. Keep us posted on what you do find, though, because that's important for the next person to know. Or the person that watches this 2 years from now, Zombie. That's what I keep telling myself. That's what's happening. Somebody's watching this video 2 years later and like, what did he have? He had SoundCloud. Oh, my gosh. What did he end up using? Because I hate SoundCloud. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Right.
Oh, he's a SoundCloud rapper? Get out of here.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's so yesterday.
Right.
That's so 2023. Oh my God.
That's so 2020, bro. Right. What are you doing?
Okay,
SoundCloud is like the SoundCloud rapper now is like what the crackhead at the gas station used to be. It was like, try my demo tape.
Oh, you say that, but one guy came up to me the other day.
Yeah.
Kid you not. Driving into work, had to stop. I have a long commute sometimes, and it was a country western. They had the side of the van was tricked out. And he's like, cool. What kind of music do you like? And I thought to myself, well, clearly I know what answer you're looking for. However, and I was friendly enough. It was just, whatever. But as I was either going back in or whatever, he was taking a CD across the parking lot to somebody. He struck up a conversation with somebody taking a CD. And you know what? hustling, man. Gotta hustle. Gotta run the sidewalks down sometimes. So yeah, get it.
Yeah.
Get it.
Agreed.
So we mentioned the
Unless
fact
you're
that you had
OnlyFans.
No, we're not going there. if you want to sell your lo-fi to those folks, you go right ahead. I will not know the difference. You'll be fine.
I'm good on that.
Yeah. Okay. So you've done a few interviews and things like that. What has been one of the kind of unique experiences with this whole father-son thing with that thing? Like, this is not like a normal, like the band has interviews and the band's made music and it's like you guys are like, blood. So what's that been like now that, like, with interviews and stuff, it kind of keeps getting out there and it will keep growing as you guys grow. So what's the take home you guys have from that experience so far?
Well, he straight up looked at me one day and went, dude, I'm not trying to get famous.
Yeah.
If you want to do it, you go for it.
Yeah. And I'll do everything I can. Yeah.
And he said that he would be here doing whatever, and I could go out and do some shows and do whatever, and he'd be fine with that.
Yeah.
As long as he keeps his privacy, he's fine with whatever. And that's what it really boils down to.
Right. Like, I enjoy sharing music with people, but I really just did this to hang out with my kid. Like, that's what this all was. So I already got paid, and I'll continue to do this for the same reason. But everybody wants to leave something behind, right? Lots of people will, they go out and they'll bury themselves in their work in an effort to make a mark on the world, and I've done the same. I just chose to do mine with music and poetry and things of that nature. Yeah. So.
Dempsey, what would be something you would tell your younger self in one of those darker times looking back? Like, because as dads in particular, there's times and, the mistakes that we make and getting out of our own way and all those kinds of things. What's something you would go back and tell yourself?
Get out of your own head. Stop being afraid to do the things that you need to do. There's no way around it. You have to just go through it. And that's advice I would give to pretty much anybody, but especially myself. Yeah. I got stuck in my head a lot and was trying to play every situation as safely as I could and didn't realize that the risk that I didn't take is what I'm going to regret at the end of my life. So I would say do what you can. Put yourself out there as much as possible, and you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. So go ahead and take them. Worst case scenario, you're stuck where you are already. Best case scenario, you make some ground.
Yeah.
Zombie, what's some of the best advice you've gotten in the middle of this whole thing with Dad and doing the technical stuff and all that kind of stuff? What's been some of the good advice that you've gotten?
Don't take anything too personally. Take it all with a grain of salt.
Yeah. There'll always be haters, right? You got that, right? That's going to happen.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Yeah. We don't just. Right. I tell people, like, when I hate on a movie and they're like, I'm like, I'm glad you liked it. And now I'm trying to do better of, like, asking them a positive question, like, well, what scene did you like, or something like give me something to go on here, because clearly we disagree. So, like, let's
right.
So I was terrible at that probably a year ago, and I'm trying to be better. I think my last bout with a movie, well, I don't know who out there liked this movie, but I hated Lady Ballers. I was told it was going to be an edgy comedy, and I was bored out of my mind for about an hour. Mrs. Pops,
I heard bad things about it too.
Yeah. I did not enjoy the everything was funny was in the trailer. Mrs. Pops is never going to forgive me because I bumped out what we were going to watch so I could do that one, and I'm never going to live that down for at least a couple more months, for sure. Right. So,
well, all what I had to say about Lady Ballers is, there are satire, music, and things of this nature out there, like Weird Al, and normally by the time the song is over, the joke is worn out. You know what I mean? It's okay that you could have stopped that song at 1 minute and it would have been funny. And by 4 minutes, it's not funny anymore. And if you take that into a movie perspective, and instead of being 4 minutes ruining a joke, now you've got an hour and a half ruining this joke. It's like, dude, that's pathetic. Just move on.
Yeah. 2 hours, by the way. 2 hours. It was almost 2 hours. And it was, everything is funny until it's 2 minute trailer. Just
Yeah,
now. I
right.
watched the trailer twice, and I was like,
Right.
okay, I'm good. Thinking that this is the tease for what's going to come. No. Okay, so think about this for a minute. I'll throw some more stuff back at the commenters and the chat and all that kind of nonsense. But this year I'm doing in 2024. I did not do this last year. Someone brought this up. I've embraced it. We did it once. We're going to do it again. So I'm letting you guys ask me a question. I don't always do that. We don't have, it always comes across as though I'm only talking one directionally, but I am okay with having things come back to me. So you guys think of a question that you guys want to ask me. But let me encourage everybody again. And I say it multiple times because some people may have come in late. Some people may have fast forwarded for some reason, but you get in there, you subscribe, you go over to right click those links to get over there to the SoundCloud, all the stuff you need to do to listen to the music, check out stuff that you like for yourselves. Zombie mentioned the Patreon thing. I'll make sure I got the right links and everything like that so you guys can support these guys. We got more music. The only way we get more music is if we try to support them. So that's what we need to do. So, but it's been great to spend time unpacking this. I really don't even feel like I started. I really feel like we just got going. We're like 40 something minutes in or whatever, and it's like, man, did we really even talk about everything? I feel, I mean, it's like,
and honestly, I might just throw out my Cash App because Patreon sucks.
That's true. That's true. Well, give me the link.
It takes a lot more dedication to set up a Patreon.
Well, all of them are taking a cut. So if you can use Cash App, as long as you don't use the instant processing fee, then it's pretty much a free service. So as long as you can know that they're using your money to invest and do their own thing, who cares? I don't want to problem with that. You're not charging me. It's great. I'll keep throwing money your direction. So just make sure I have that. So it'll be in the description below, and we'll make sure that people got that. So,
all right.
Well, I do have a question for you.
You go with those questions. Let's do it.
Okay. So there's the quintessential Stuck on a Desert Island. What CD, or should I say album, book, movie would you bring?
And only one?
Yes.
Of each. Okay. There is a For King and Country is a Christian band that I like, and they have an album. I'm going to make sure I get the right one because I like 2 or 3 of their albums, but they have an album to me that I listen to. It's pretty much start to finish. It's not as though sometimes a music or a band has an album or something where it doesn't even have to be like their best songs, but for some reason it just connects with you. It's called Run Wild, Live Free, Love Strong. That would be my album. It's just one of those albums that when I had it, I know that I just played it start to finish. And it's also like we were talking about earlier, where it's music that can be in the background. Like it can just be music. Right. You know what I mean? Okay.
Yeah, certainly.
Yeah. It doesn't have to be like some heavy thing. Yeah. So it has some of that kind of stuff to it. They have songs where it doesn't have to be like really, but there are songs that are like that, but that would be my song. That'd be my album. Sorry. The book is a little cliche because I wouldn't want to say the Bible is a person of faith, but that would be the book. But a different book would be something I'll think about here for a minute and try to come up with something different so it's not so cliched, because obviously that would be my book. Movie is the hardest one for me because it would be one of those things like, would I want to watch it that many times over and over again? Right. And then I'm like, and I think it would have to be something that has so many layers to it. I would always enjoy rewatching it. And that would be hard because I probably wouldn't want what most people would think. It wouldn't be more of the action and sci-fi thing. I probably think I would want, I'm debating Return of the King is probably the one, but I'm also like, I think I'm going to stick with Old Faithful and go with Godfather, because Godfather has so many levels of things I would pick up on and enjoy. It would probably be Godfather, and it's probably not my number one movie of all time. It's just I could see myself tolerating that movie forever, compared to like. Even though I love like all these other movies like Wrath of Khan or whatever, I would burn out on that so much. Like I just know them all by heart and it would just not be fun anymore. Whereas Godfather, I don't think I would ever get sick of. Yeah. The book would be the trickiest one besides that. I know it's like a cliche thing to talk about my faith like that, but yeah, that would probably be the one book that never leaves my side. As I've gotten older, most books are just for a purpose. So, I guess I'm going to go cliche and just do a comic book and say I think I'm going to take the Batman Long Halloween, because Batman Long Halloween is one of the few things that I've read where I can just always reread it again and not get sick of it. It's longer than most graphic novels because there's 13 comic books in it, so it's not short. So it's long enough that I could read pieces of it and never get sick of it. So complicated answers, I know, but there's the answer to your question.
Nice.
Awesome.
Nice.
How about you, Zombie?
I mean, I was gonna ask, what's your favorite comic book franchise and why?
Okay.
Yeah.
It's super simple because of the massive comic collection. I mean, I literally sold comic books at one point in a flea market booth because I couldn't do a store, but for like 3.5 years, did a flea market booth. And personally would collect because it would be like, I can buy all this that would pay for these things that I wanted to keep. So half of my collection was Batman and everything else was half. So Batman is by far my thing. It's always been my thing. It's the most interesting of the rogue galleries and the villains and all that kind of stuff. So it's a very easy thing for those. And yeah, I'm in the middle of a lot of those kinds of stories. So, oh, look at that, kitty time. So yeah, awesome. Okay, so we'll close with like what's next. Like, do we got another album coming in 2024? You got like an EP coming or other stuff? What are some of the things that you guys got in the hopper coming up?
All I gotta say to that is stay tuned for what do we plan on calling our next album?
Well, we don't have a name for the album yet, but we do have a name for the project, Against the Stream. Yes. That's going to be a collaboration project between myself, Zombie Main, Jim Shabloom, Scott Garwood, and possibly even Ron Martin, and maybe even Todd Meyer, maybe even Carl Shabloom, Jim's younger brother. But we're all going to come together and we're going to make what we hope is one of the best music projects of our life, because the music that we're capable of making with these musicians like Jim and Garwood and Ron and Todd and all these people, they're so talented. It's going to be a whole different experience than our last two albums. So,
not to mention, I got a solo album with me and my buddy JT.
Awesome.
It's going to be called Chaos. The Chaos album will be coming out eventually. I'm just waiting out on his part, and we got to wait on my buddy Vale. He's going to do, he might hop on a few beats. I don't know just yet. Scheduling has been a pain in my rear.
Well, that sounds like a 2024 thing, though. Like, it sounds like it's happening. So people just have to make sure they're connected to you guys to know when that actually drops. They don't miss out on that kind of thing. Right. I know we're pre-recording things, folks. So this is happening right before Christmas. So this is going to be kind of a little interesting and surreal. It's going to come out. And you're watching this in real time on live on that Sunday. It's going to happen right before Dempsey's birthday, so it's going to be kind of a cool thing to have that happen. So, but listen, it's been a great time. It's been great to get to know them more and understand more of what's kind of behind the artist, if you will. And I appreciate it very much, gentlemen. Thank you so much for hanging out with me.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, this was a lot of fun, man. It was really good to finally get a chance to speak with you. It's been the parasocial situation this whole time where we've been I've been watching you speak. And you've been seeing me chat, but we've never really gotten the chance to verbally speak with one another. So it was nice to meet you, sir. I truly appreciate it. I appreciate the chance to come on here and speak. And
yep. That's our alarm.
Sorry about that.
Listen, folks, you guys.
We're going to be on Brian Roger Athay's channel on the reality-based music, and we do that every Sunday at 4 p.m. Eastern. So we won't be doing this coming, which by the time this comes out, it'll be in the past. But we're not doing one on Christmas Eve, but we will be coming out in 2024 swinging for the fences.
That's awesome. Really so it's a regular appearance then. That's awesome. Yes. Congratulations. That'll be cool. Make sure I'll try to make sure I get those links from Ryan so we have that in there for you guys as well. Because we'll load them all up. Put all the links in there, guys. Let's make it easier for everybody to find things. But folks, thanks so much for tuning in. Join us next week. We'll probably do another Watch Your Story. Maybe just me there next week. I don't know. We'll see what the schedule holds. We'll see. But everybody be safe. Be blessed. Make tomorrow a little bit better than today. Take care, everybody. I am Pops.
Wish you all luck and fortune.